so it was our friends at Twiosh, and the rumor is lately now that everyone's losing their minds about is that the Switch is going to have a virtual console for GameCube games. And my joke to that is man, if like Nintendo keeps doing like virtual consoles, and then they're like, I'm always going to be catching up. Like on my 3DS,
think about that.
Think
about that's interesting, right? The idea of like, holy crap, a virtual console for GameCube games, that excites me, right? But now rewind the clock and try to imagine transporting back when it was GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2. Nobody gives a shit if there's a virtual console on Xbox One for the original Xbox games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up with like? See how strange like perception is, and
well, and like I think perception's a lot different. And like the Twiosh wanted to know, and you're kind of heading in that direction, is like what you think of the Switch. And I think Nintendo lives in a completely different ecosystem.
Absolutely,
they're not trying to compete with with Microsoft.
They're not trying to.
Steam.
You know, some people look at Nintendo and say, "Oh, they're losing the video game business." No, they're winning the toy business. Right, like it's a whole different. They're attacking it from a totally different angle.
And you could argue that it's like a lot of people are like, well, how well is the Switch going to do? Well, it's sold out. Yeah. It's not out, and you can't.
They always sell out though. But I'm pretty bullish about it. I mean, I've spent my entire life as a Nintendo gamer. Well, since Nintendo existed. In fact, you know, Christy and I were talking about earlier. The first game her and I ever played together, start to finish, as a couple, was the original Final Fantasy on the 8-bit Nintendo. That was the first game she and I played together.
So you're excited about the Switch?
So I'm a Nintendo fanboy for sure. But I'll tell you, the thing that I've always dealt with through my entire existence as a Nintendo fanboy, starting with their launch of the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, was there's kind of like two Nintendo platforms. There's like whatever the handheld is and whatever the console is. And I loved having the Nintendo handheld, the portable, because it's portable. And I love that they would support it and put good games out for it. But I hated the fact that the best experiences Nintendo had to offer could never be portable, because the portable systems were like, you know, in the Game Boy era, there was like very low resolution, 4-color grayscale.
Yeah.
4 gray. It's not even color.
The Game Boy was not even as good as the NES.
And you look, even the 3DS, like the fidelity is very low compared to what I can see on my 4K television at home, right? And so now, for the first time in Nintendo's history, we're going to have a single platform which is going to serve as both their handheld device and their console device. And what this means is, what Nintendo's really best at is they're as developers. There's the software they create, the entertainment experiences they create in the software. And what this means is their very best efforts and their very best talents are going to be directed towards games that I can choose whether I want them to be portable games,
right,
or I want them to be console games, or either, and there's no compromise. And that, like, as a game player who knows what it takes to build this stuff and how talent has to be divided amongst different platforms, like, this is the best news imaginable if you love Nintendo games.
Loving Nintendo games and running a studio that is not only a developer but a publisher now.
Oh yeah,
which I want to talk about. I mean, like this and I you know, there's obviously stuff you're working on you can't talk about, but
sure.
Are games for the Switch possibly in Gearbox's future, or something you've thought about?
Oh, I love the platform, and I'm always dreaming stuff up. But you know, I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about a Switch specific game yet. I want to experience the platform as a customer first, and the other thing too is, as much as I'm a Nintendo fanboy, I've got to tell you, it's always been really, really difficult as a third party on the platform. If you're not Nintendo, it's really hard to find an audience for your game on their platform. And there's some neat things about the platform. It is probably going to be, of all the Nintendo platforms to date, it might be the easiest to develop for. Which is great from a development point of view, but it's still so significantly different from the other consoles that it's not something you can automatically put into parallel development if you're already making, say, an Xbox, PlayStation, and PC game. You can't just add the Switch as a parallel platform without making trade-offs and compromises. So, and the platform is very different too. So I want to experience it as a customer, and I want to think about what a Switch, like a product designed for Switch, a game designed for Switch, what that would actually be like. And it could be that there's one there that we think of that is something we actually want to do. You know, in the Wii era, when Nintendo told me about that platform, it was like a year before launch when I got to play with the controllers, and I realized right away, oh my God, I want to play Samba de Amigo on this.
Yeah.
You know, that was the Sega game with the maracas. And I called them up and I said, you guys are doing this, right? And they're like, what? And I'm like, that has to exist. Like, well, we can't. We're busy. We got other stuff. I'm like, well, let me do it because that has to exist.
I would like to make Samba de Amigo.
And so we made Samba de Amigo for the Wii, and it was great. And it wasn't a very expensive project to do, but it was a lot of fun, and it felt exactly right. You know, Nintendo said, hey, we have a platform that's about holding these devices in each hand and shaking them to make the game work. I'm like, my favorite game ever, where I hold the thing in each hand and I shake it to make the game work, is Samba de Amigo. So that's what we did. But I don't know. I know that there's a lot of folks that are wondering like what happens to Gearbox known franchises on the platform, and there might be something there, but there's nothing in development right now, and I really want to experience the game as a customer, experience the platform as a customer, and then we'll see down the road. It's very, very tricky. It's an entertainment business, so you can't predict how the market's going to be. But it's also a business, and I'm responsible for the livelihoods of hundreds of people and their families, and we have to be able to make at least as much as we spend, or we go away and the dream stops. And our dream is just to entertain the world. So, and we want to just keep at it and get better and better at it. So I have to make sure that if we do make a Switch game, that it's the kind of game that I can make. That I can at least reach enough people where we make more than it costs to do it. Otherwise, we don't get to keep doing it anymore, and that would be the worst tragedy of all.